episode
Yes.
103. We are officially in season five.
Yeah,
I don't
buddy.
have a copy of my book. I was gonna show my
This
book.
guy. Why he's finding this book, man? Welcome to episode 103
Yeah, hold on. I'll
of
be right
Figment
back.
Shit Podcast. Go ahead, man. We got a
Oh,
good episode coming today. Frank is always impromptu, man. He got to get back in the groove of things over there. Here comes the book. Show the book, Frank. You can't see, you can't hear me? All right, he can show it in a second. I am King Arthur. Y'all know what it is. Unify and thrive. You see the saying behind me, stay faithful, stay focused, and finish. And then 2020 Faces, we out here moving product. I got a couple of events coming up in July, so I'm gonna take the little spring off. I'm gonna take the spring off, and then I'm gonna get back to it. Frank, what's going on with you, buddy?
all right. I'm ready. I'm prepared. I
I'm
should
back.
have a copy of this on my desk at all times just for these purposes.
Absolutely.
Bunny Flocks, you already know websites, elusiveperspective.com. Check out cyberbunny.com. And I'm a first-time author. This came out 2 months ago.
Yeah, buddy.
It's called An Elusive Perspective. It's about 200, 300 pages. It's just about awakening up from the matrix, recognizing your power in life. And it's a pretty good
Mm-hmm.
read. I'm selling some copies and I'm getting good reviews. And for the people that
That's
haven't
right.
reviewed it yet, maybe they don't like it, so that's fine, but it is what it is. There's probably stuff in there that's gonna piss some people off. There's probably stuff that may rub people the wrong way, but it is what it is. So that's my book. Go ahead, buy that. We have for here in episode 103, we have Kyle Smith, who's a clarity consultant and developer of NLSE, which is an acronym for Neuro Linguistic Somatic Experience, which
Good job.
I know I had to do it slow because I felt like I was gonna mess it up. It sounds crazy. I don't know what those words. I know what those words mean by themselves, but we're gonna get into
Mm-hmm.
what they mean together. But
What kind
before,
of Brian work is?
right, before we jump into that, Kyle, every episode we asked our guests what was a figuring shit out moment in their life. This could be any epiphany you had where you started moving differently, the skies opened up, sunshine came down, and you just viewed things differently. Do you have a moment to share with us?
Uh, one in particular, this is part of my friggin' origin story. I have a bit of it back there.
Let's go.
In 2016, I did what is called a World's Toughest Mudder, and I've done world
Hey.
or Tough Mudders before that, and
Mm-hmm.
I had it as a group retreat when I was back in my personal training days. The largest group I had was 18 people that
Wow.
survived, crushed it.
Yeah.
Nice, man.
Yeah. And then so in 2016, it was in November, I did the World's Toughest Mudder, and that's a 24-hour obstacle race. It was just
Oh,
keep on going. It had military obstacles. It was awesome. I actually loved all the obstacles. That's where I excelled. And then I was just walking for the rest of it.
I can
So
imagine.
this was after a year where I made a decision to pivot where I wanted to go. And it all ties into what I do now. And uh what what happened was I had an outlet. Like if everything that was built up just flushed
Mm,
out.
mhm.
And it was in Las Vegas. I was mostly by myself, just out in the desert doing obstacles, just like thinking, thinking, thinking. And what I found, like reflecting on it now, is that it it took me to break down the body metaphorically and physically
Right.
in order to build up the mind.
Ooh.
And so before that, I don't think everybody is required to do a really physically demanding thing. However, that physiological outlet where it's a release of that pent up like frustration, agitation that's been built up rather than processed or pushed down and buried, uh, that just freaking flushed away. And I had one of the best sleeps of my life.
What?
And
Nice.
I got to do some pretty scary stuff. The one part of it that stood out that it was ugh, like even right now I feel it in my body. They had a cliff jump, or they just called it the cliff,
Oh my God.
and it was a 40-foot walk the plank just into the water, and it was just a little like lake that they had. They also had like security and lights and stuff. This one
Right.
didn't open up until midnight. I was thinking to myself, I'm like, maybe if I made it fast enough, I'd be able to make it past the opening part because they open the obstacles at different times so that
Right.
there
Right.
wouldn't be bunching up. And so I didn't, and I stood on that thing for a while, and there's really good incentive. The finish line was right there. And if I
Oh,
didn't do the obstacle, I'd be doing another quarter of a mile.
oh,
And I
hell
didn't
no.
want to do the quarter of a mile. I didn't do one yet. I'm like, damn. So I was up there and I was like, damn, this is crazy. And then like, yeah, I'm actually like shaking thinking about it. This is cool. This is so much fun. And
Tough.
then basically it was just a matter of not thinking and just walking into it because that's all it was just a step. And then I just like bundled myself up like nice and tight because the water was coming.
Yeah.
And I had enough time to think to myself, shouldn't I be at the water by now? Just splash. I'm
Whoa.
like, holy shit. So yeah, that was a really like exhilarating moment. It was an
That's great.
experience.
That
So I would
reminded me
be
of my Navy. I was in the Navy for basic and
Yeah,
jumping off
yeah.
the pool thing. It wasn't 40 feet. I think it was
It was like 20, 15.
something like that. But yeah. So that was during one of the Tough Mudder events and doing
That's
like
nice.
physical activities or physical things that prior to that moment you wouldn't even dream of doing or being or having the opportunity to do. So that was when you said that you had a flush of all these emotions. Was a result after doing the event and you felt like you said you had some like negativity or anger and emotions flush out of your body from just being really physically active for the Tough Mudder?
it wouldn't be so it would be built up that tension. I
Hmm.
would say it's the tension because it's more of an intensity. It's not really a negative thing. It was just a buildup of emotions. And so I didn't have at that point in time a way to actively process those. So
Yeah,
I kept them lingering. And uh, I think that the same point where it's that that let
yeah,
go, that washing away of that heaviness where you feel a little bit lighter, there's a little bit extra pep to your step.
yeah. I know exactly what you're talking
That's
about.
when it's like a good vibe. Yeah.
I feel like
So
I
I
got
don't.
some pent up things right now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
What
we
you
ain't
got
gonna
going
get
on,
to.
Frank?
How long?
Nah,
How long is that?
Wait,
How's it been how long has it been going on for?
is it long enough? I got pent up
Mm.
things, personal life things.
Kyle's about to get in his bag.
Hey, I got a therapist. This is not a therapy session. No,
Bro,
before we jump into
you
that.
know what? Luckily for you, I'm not a therapist, so you're right.
Oh,
Oh man.
so officially he's not.
Yeah.
What you about to say, Key?
Now I was saying Kyle's about to get in his bag, but I feel like I did Tough Mudder before too, and it was kind of
Nice.
cool. And I also did it with like a team builder type thing, but that was with my IT job, and so she got us out the office and did Tough Mudder or whatever. And I think me and Frank should do one. I don't know if Frank is
A
into it.
mutter? No, no, no. I've been hitting the gym. Um,
Yeah,
I've been, been I've been hitting the gym. I've been hitting the weights. I'm like a solid 3 months in. I used to be a gym rat,
nice.
going 2, 3 times a week, and I'm not going as often as I used to, but I've stepped up my game. So no, I'm down for that. I got to work on my cardio.
Sick.
What's it called? Stamina. I don't have great stamina, so I get tired quickly. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah,
Walk it.
yeah,
Don't
yeah.
no, no,
run it.
I'll definitely do that. I'll
Well,
definitely
I
do that.
guess yeah. That's good. That's sick. I
So,
totally support your decision there. That's sick.
question: what is a clarity consultant? Because it sounds sexy. Um,
Straight to the business.
like a lot of people need clarity. I need clarity. So do you
Yeah,
help people? Well, so if you can speak on what a clarity consultant is, what is that? What's
Mhm.
going on with that?
So a clarity consultant is the title that I came up with to describe what I do in a really short way. And breaking them both down, clarity, I help pull the information out of the person. I think that people already know the answers to the problems they want to solve. It's pulling it out of them. It creates this reassurance and this encouragement. So there's more action proneness to doing the things.
Mhm.
And so then it's figuring out, well, starting to declutter the space. If we have a whole bunch of stories in our head, we're not going to be able to build on top of it. So then we go through that. Then we celebrate the wins and the progress. So we see that we are of value. Our opinion about ourselves is pretty awesome. When we have a higher opinion of ourselves, that means we have a better mindset. A mindset is the stories we tell ourselves about ourselves or our opinion of ourselves.
Right.
As consultant, I'm just a guide.
Hmm.
I'm just a guide. I like to think of myself like a force ghost where here with the
Love Star
person
Wars.
where we're going through a story. However, I'm just there. I can't
Right,
actually influence their story. So most of what I do is asking questions.
right. Force Ghost is
Nice.
crazy because I'm a huge Star Wars fan. So um,
Nice.
I already no
I thought you
that
made that
sounds
up.
super.
I thought he made that
Force Ghost? Come on now, it's Star
up.
Wars.
Yeah,
You was confused like what's a Force Ghost?
absolutely. I said that's nice. That's a. He got two bangers off back. The
Clarity
Clarity Coast and the
Consultant and
Force
Force
Coast.
Ghost.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'll put that on a business card, both of those. Yeah.
All right. All right. So this NLSC, this
Yeah.
I could infer what it sounds like to me,
Mhm.
but I'd rather get your definition of what that is exactly because it sounds crazy.
That's fair. I am curious about what you think of it. Could be honest
All right.
on it.
You want me to try?
Yeah.
What's up,
I
Frank?
don't well, I'll be honest, I don't know what somatic means, but I know neuro
Okay.
linguistic mind language
Hmm.
experience. So I'm assuming it
Hmm.
has something to do with how you speak to yourself.
Yeah.
Somatic. What does somatic mean? I'm usually
What
a
is
wordy
it?
guy. Yeah.
I'll give you a hint. Somatic, I did something physical. So somatic would be of the,
Body.
Body.
yeah, bruh.
Okay,
Soma.
that sounds like what you were talking about, where you had emotion release, tension and things release.
Yeah.
You know how they say emotion, when you have emotions, whatever they are, you can hoard them in the body, and they can
Hmm.
manifest into physical ailments,
Hmm.
positive or good. I mean, positive or negative.
Yeah.
So yeah, speak on that a little bit. What's NLSC?
Bro, that was so good. Okay.
I try.
Cool. So breaking it down, neuro is neurons, nervous system. It's the mind and the mindset. Mindset being the stories we tell ourselves about ourselves, our opinion of ourselves. That's very important. If we
Mhm.
feel better about ourselves, we're going to do more shit. If we feel crappy about ourselves, we're going to do less shit. We having that space in between, knowing when we're a little bit higher, a little lower, we can figure that out. Nervous system, tying into those emotions. Emotions, that's the transportation of the information that their body picks up as senses.
Mhm.
And so it goes all the way up here, up into the brain. Then linguistic being what we say, think, and write, and also how we breathe, because the breath is the language of the body. So with
Mhm.
that one, when we're breathing high and tight, we're good to fight. When we're breathing low and slow, we're good to flow. And so how words, what we say, think, and write, how that all ties in is I think of words as the ethereal macronutrients of the mind, where we have our carbs, fats, and proteins, where with the better the quality of the macronutrients, the better the quality it's going to have on our body. Our
Right.
body's going to be
Thanks.
feel a certain way as a side effect.
Makes
So
sense.
words being the ethereal macronutrients, the words that we consume is going to influence the quality of our thoughts. When we feed our mind quality thoughts, we're going to have our quality words, we'll have quality thoughts. When we
Mhm.
feed our mind shit words, we're going to have shit thoughts.
Mm.
And so it's being mindful and thinking about our thinking. And
Now
then
that's huge.
somatic, go for it.
No, no, go ahead. I'm sorry. You still going.
And
Somatic, yeah.
then somatic is of the body, and it's the physical body as well as the emotional body, the energetic body. Emotion is energy in motion. And so we utilize the breath as an in-between to help get our head, heart, and our intuition in alignment in order to go into those stories, those experiences, to be able to uh, remove things that are ouchy and reinforce things that are positive. And these are stories. So what you said about the stories bundling up and then it leading to ailments, those are different stories that have been locked in the body. And if the same story has the same theme around the same area, is going to impact that same thing. It's going to
Mhm.
develop over time. And so, for example, like when I'm working with someone and I ask them the questions, uh, describe the feelings. What are the emotions that you feel? Then I ask them, describe where you feel it in your body, and on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most intense, where does it land?
Right.
And so we have that information right in front of us. And I kid you not, man, like depending on where it is, going with the energy system, think of chakras,
Yeah.
we can tie into those as well. So when people are talking about heart heavy stories, they feel it in their chest.
Right.
When they're feeling an incongruence between what they want to do and what they're doing, they're not doing what they say they're going to do. They're going to feel it in their solar plexus. They're going to feel it in their gut. And that over time will just get nastier and nastier. So then uh those stories, and I think of it like a lumberjack, where another fun analogy where each of those, if our body has this nervous system where there's a river flowing, those logs going down, each of those logs are different stories.
Right.
And I can explain what stories are later on too, if
No,
it's
no,
not
that's
clear.
that's huge. No, no, this is
And
this is this is huge stuff because a lot of people don't believe in a lot of these things, but it's proven. The books are out there. We all feel emotions. We go through things in life, and a lot of times you can feel your emotions do manifest into physical things. Like, when you're
Mhm,
stressed, you get headaches, you know what I'm saying? Or you'll have,
mhm.
back spasms or muscle spasms, or it is what it is, you know what I'm saying? And um what's crazy is I'm resonating with what you're talking about because I believe it 100%. I'm on board with this. What everything that you're talking about makes 100% sense to me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. When you showed your book title, I was like, oh yeah, this guy
Yeah,
gets
I see
it.
this.
Yeah. No, I love the book. I read it 7 times. I mean, I wrote it, but I read it 7 times, and like I'm getting good, feedback from it. So, I'm
Nice.
excited to write another one. And while we're talking about it, I'm looking at your topics. It's
Hmm.
funny, you have abracadabra, magic, and spells, and what
Yeah,
does that
brother.
have to do with
Yeah.
it? And the reason I bring that up, and the reason I bring that up is I'm currently reading this.
Hmm.
Is the Black
Black
Arts.
artist.
Oh yeah,
It's
nice,
Okay.
nice.
magic stuff, not devil worship or none of that. But I'm
Yeah.
I'm I'm jumping into that type of um trying to learn things about that. Not to practice
Mm.
anything, but to understand it at a different level. So
Hmm.
abracadabra, magic spells. King, interject. You can interrupt me anytime if I'm hogging the mic.
Nah,
Do you
you
have any
good. I
questions?
like hearing. No, I like hearing Kyle talk because that's. So I think I told you. I said this before. Like I don't do depression. Like I've always been a
Mm.
super optimistic. I've been a very high energy. I remember I used to drink coffee when I was early 19, 20. And I was like, man, this shit is slowing me down. I don't need a natural battery. Like I've
Yeah.
always been that way, and Frank knows that. So like when he's talking like this is like, oh yeah, this is up my alley. Like I wanted to go deeper because like when I take my walks in the morning, I'm doing mantras and I'm going laying down, I'm talking to myself right in it.
Mm.
I kind of watched myself over the years evolving from like I used to tell people like life's in shambles. And like when I stopped saying that, my life stopped being in shambles. It
Hmm.
was kind of like
True.
yeah, I was just using words that I really wasn't in tune of what they meant or
Hmm.
how to use the words. And then I, got more in depth of what words are, what words I can use.
Mm.
You are a wordsmith, right? You might be a rapper because you've been using a lot of words. I'm like, dog, he got a vocabulary over there, right? And so, um,
Thanks, my man.
talk about how you get into this whole, what is it called? Clarity consulting. How'd you start doing that for other people?
Sweet. Okay. There's 3 points. I'll finish the S and the E, and then I'll answer the question of oh shoot, what was your question?
How'd you get into it?
How'd I got into it and abracadabra. Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, we could chop it up. You don't.
Dude, I want to
I
hit
know.
all of those. I'm like putting them right
The
in
magic
there.
stuff, we can get into magic
So,
stuff because I post about yeah, we'll
okay,
get
Let's
into it.
cool.
go
Okay.
for it.
All right.
So we'll go through it. So yeah, somatic of the body and then experience happens real time. People flesh it out. Now, how words are magic and spells, because I like to frame things through a lens of art, science, and magic, or clarity, or yeah, art, science, and magic, because it's a creative endeavor. We create things. Then science is magic that we have quantified, and magic is science that we have not quantified.
Mm.
So, how I mentioned earlier, quality of the words that we speak will influence the quality of our thoughts. Abracadabra is a 3,000-year-old language, Aramaic. Translated to English, it's with my words I create,
Mhm.
or influence. And a spell, the definition of a spell, is a word or a collection of words of great influence. So with my words I create, depending on the quality of the words that I consume.
That's huge.
That's the variable. Mhm.
And, I posted earlier today, so I do this all the time. I posted, it might have been yesterday. I posted about music, right? How
Mhm.
the words the words in
Yeah.
music are repetitive. They're incantations. They're spells, right? So if you're singing something and it's a derogatory or it's negative or it's
Mhm.
minimizing or whatever case have you, and you're singing it and you're repeating it and you sing it in your head and you sing it out loud, you're pretty much spelling, right? You're conducting
Mm.
spells and incantations. And when it comes to certain types of music
Ooh.
that people listen to over and over, I used to listen to horrible music. I listen to it now, and I'm like, what the fuck was I listening to? And I was singing it, but anyway, it's just information and things that are put out there that is actually detrimental to people's psyche in
Mhm.
mass, right? And like we have
Mm. Oh yeah.
we have huge groups, populations of people just consuming poison and then having bad experiences and bad lives and going through certain things and then wondering why,
Why me?
why their life is happening or whatever's happening. And it's like, look at what you're consuming. We're not even gonna get into
Mhm.
food and all this other things. We can, but a lot of it is spells, is casting, is incantations, and it's repetitive and it comes on the radio and you play it for yourself and you consume it and it's just
Totally.
over and over and over. You know.
I was out for a walk last Sunday, and I'm so pumped to say this because this is the first time I get to say it on a podcast. So I was so
Yeah.
pumped. So I was out
Exclusive.
for a walk. Yeah, dun dun. Uh, so I was out for a walk, and I was thinking about it's not a Rolodex. It's it's a specific word to describe the words that you say regularly.
Mhm.
It's like your own codex of words. And so these are the main words that we say on a regular basis or that we can pull from when we want to articulate a certain point. And so with the work that I do with all the words, when you really go into the words, if each word gives it a particular feel. And when you put them together, the statements create a different feeling.
Mm.
So it's like a different something where it's like this, but that. I like to think of it or translate it to this and that because it flows better. It has a smoother flow. So I had this thought where putting together a statement is like composing a melody, where you're picking the right words to fit to bring about a particular feeling or a release.
Right. And that's
And so
huge.
each word has like a thing. It's like cacophonies. They're harsh sounding words. And a lot of the most aggressive words happen to be the same thing. I think
Right.
it's homonyms that are the soft sounding words, and the word itself sounds soft too. And so when we have the right flow with for the right intentions, then we're composing a song. And now think of this one too, where I'm just semi-tangenting, but
That's
Nikola
fine.
Tesla says to understand the universe, understand frequency, vibration, and energy. And if words produce a frequency when we speak them, an energy
Uh-huh.
when we feel them, and a vibration through it going from our headphones and microphones and through cyberspace and doing this thing,
Mhm.
then uh then each statement that we make is a melody within the one song.
Yo, that's crazy.
That last
I'm
part, that
super high
one
right
was
now.
fresh. That one was
Let's
fresh.
go. That's what we cook.
Yeah,
I'm high
got me
right now.
Now,
flowing.
so I bet Cal has like a group of sayings that he says to himself daily,
Oh
don't you?
yeah,
Yeah.
pretty close.
Do you mind sharing?
There's one that's in particular that is a regular one where it's keep up the kindness, where it's
Mm.
an external and internal one, and I think of it as a practice where we can recognize when people are being kind. Thus, we
Mhm.
can embody kindness. We don't need to feel kind in order to be kind.
Mm.
And when we keep up that kindness, it's not over the top, it's not low, it's like a sweet spot. It's right in the middle. It's fucking well. It's not just well, it's that little extra.
Mm.
Mhm.
Sorry for swearing if I wasn't allowed
No, no,
to.
yo, you
Nah,
no,
we
this is figuring shit out. You
shit
curse, you
is
can
in
do
the
Oh
name,
whatever.
yeah, oh yeah, fair enough.
right?
Oh my gosh.
We
Yeah, good
figuring
point, good
we
point, good point.
figuring clarity shit out right now. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
question for people. Let's say language is important. We understand that.
Hmm.
And I'm me personally, I'm trying to be better about how I speak. I've gotten a lot better. If you were talking to me 10 years ago, I would have sounded different.
Hmm.
Of course.
Everything, it's crazy. For
I hope
somebody,
so.
yeah, no,
Right.
yeah, I've definitely grown in my lifetime. For someone who, well, I guess what advice would you have for someone who understands or is recognizing their self-talk and how they talk and they want to change that, and that's I'm sure there's a process to be more conscious and aware, but what advice would you have for somebody who wants to start to begin to have more positive thoughts and more positive speech
Hey
in their
Frank,
day-to-day?
do you?
Mm.
I think if he answers the question of how he got started, that may help him piggyback to your question. What do you think?
That's fair.
Okay. Yeah. I
I was
could
just
Because
thinking
that's
about it. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was just thinking, I'm like, oh, I actually had it back there. I was like, I know we're gonna come back to
we
it,
need meeting
but
minutes. We need a secretary, somebody to keep us on track because we
Nah,
just have
I
oh
like this
man, it's cool.
spontaneous. I
I
think
think
this
it's fun.
spontaneous conversation. Yeah.
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 Uh, the chunk of it is that I turned my problems into my passions. So in 2016, at the beginning of the year, just did not like the person that I was
Mm.
for a
Mhm.
variety of reasons. Was not living up to my standards, didn't have very much appreciation, respect, patience, forgiveness. I didn't like the character that I was embodying, and I made a decision to change who I wanted to be, which does answer the first part. The person has to be willing and wanting to change in order to process. Because the three things that I found that people that do this work get the most out of it is one, they have a sincere desire to change or grow. I think of that as changing because you're still changing. Um, they had a willingness to explore their curiosity, and they had a willingness to test their comfort zone or their pain threshold. So I think that the first thing would be making the person making the decision that they want to make a pivot and are willing to make adjustments in both their internal and their external world in order to fulfill that desired outcome. And then try to piece everything else together. So what would be the conversations that would be preventing me from progressing? And how it ties in is over the last, what would that be? 9 years, 2016 to now, 9 years. I tried a whole bunch of different styles of therapy, counseling, um, words of wisdom. I made a
Mhm.
nice Facebook post. People were really supportive. They gave
Mhm.
me a lot of
Okay.
love, gave me a lot of answers.
Nice.
And that's actually when my buddy Sean, he's like, because I for 6 months before this post, he was like, do the world's toughest mudder with me, do the world's toughest mudder with me. And I was like, nah, nah, nah. He saw that post, messaged me, and he's like, huh? And I'm like, okay, fine.
Got him.
So yeah, so over the years, the two things that worked the best for me was both breath work and story work. So breath work I had through the whole time, that's the somatic, and then story work is the language and not the mind. And so that's why I put them together and made it into neuro-linguistic somatic experience, a top to bottom approach to mindset training for your mental fitness. Ha, that was a flow one
Nice.
too. I was just flowing with that one.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, and so this just works for me, and then whoever resonates with it gets to as well. And what I wanted to do, because I believe I was pulled to service, like intuitively, just I just want to do good.
Mhm.
And this just became a tool for me to be able to have a very simple thing because other things worked for a short period of time. However, many of them depended on me going to do the thing in order, like going somewhere. So if I
Mm-hmm.
was traveling, I wouldn't have access to the practice or the tools or the person. And so this is just words, stories, and breath. That's all people need to know. And if they can
Right.
worry and they can tie their shoes, they can do this. So
Yeah.
now I just get to teach it and then solve my own shenanigans, became a much better human being, have a much higher opinion of myself. I don't think
Mm,
I'm a piece of crap human being.
That's huge.
Beautiful.
nice.
I have much
Yeah.
kindness, much love, appreciation, support. And yeah, man. So it's rewiring the to go back onto the other part of the question. It does come down to the individual wanting to change it, and simplest thing is writing it down because then you're taking it from the infinite mind and you're putting it on paper. Because I
Mm-hmm.
think
Mm,
that people will take a lot of experiences with a similar theme and put them all together.
Mm-hmm.
It's
mm,
similar. So people will take their experiences that could be decades apart, maybe not decades, let's say like years apart, for
Yeah.
example. It's people can hold on to similar stories or similar experiences, similar to when you have that one friend that is dating 10 different people or has dated 10 different people, and they are all actually the same person.
Right.
mm.
So we have stories in our life that we usually stack
Right.
on top of each other.
Okay.
That's why some people lean towards different anchors, different like negative narratives that are destructive rather than constructing.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
And society, go ahead, King, my fault.
Oh no, I was just gonna say that he touched on two things. Like I think me and Hugh were talking about this before. It was like Dick Gregory said when you go to wake somebody up and they're not ready, the first thing they're saying is, "Why'd you wake me up?" Like, and so what like when I heard you say that, like they have to be willing, they have to be ready for whatever they're wanting, they're changing, they're awakening, right? And then the other one
Mhm.
was like saying you didn't have to go anywhere for this practice, right? They can do
Mhm.
this anywhere. So I tell Frank this all the time, like if somebody wants to work out and they think that buying a gym membership is going to help them, encourage them, it's not. If they're not willing to
Mhm.
wake up in the morning to go walk, right? If they're not willing to do the things in their own home, in their own space, right here, right there, right now, they're not gonna do it there. It's gonna be more
Totally.
friction or more of a deterrent to go there to do it, even though you didn't spend your money. People waste money all the time, right? So that's what I pulled from that, Frank. That's all.
That's
Definitely
legit.
I
It's
wasted so
true.
much money on gyms. I was the guy every other year, every year, get a gym membership, go for like 2 months, stop going,
Mm,
and then pay eight the rest of the year, 10 months. It's crazy. But the actual the gym I'm going to now, I actually go, so I learned my lesson.
Good.
Um, Victim mentality.
Mhm.
There are people in this world that, for some reason, or due to upbringing, their environment, people around them, they
Mhm.
default all the time, every time, anything that happens to them to external external sources or taking ownership of a victim mentality where things are happening to them and they're helpless and there's nothing they can do. Uh, in your field, how do you help somebody break free from that without giving all the sauce? If you don't want to give all the sauce,
I don't mind. I don't mind at all.
okay. What are some of the key points in trying to help somebody? But again, this is somebody who wants to break you. Like you can't help nobody if they don't want to be helped. But it's somebody
Mhm.
who comes to you for help and says, how do you help them
Mm.
see the victim, see what they're doing to themselves and how break them free from having a victim mentality?
To help them see how to break free from it is to bring it to the forefront. And so I have a definition for the victim mentality. And it's a uh, the victim mentality is an acquired personality trait in which a person tends to regard himself or herself as the victim of other people's actions, even in the absence of clear evidence. The victim mentality depends on a habitual thought process and attributions. And so the victim mentality is something that is adopted, it's constructed, it's created. So there's the victim mentality, then there's the victor mentality. Because even victims want to be victorious.
Mhm.
If the victim mentality is still serving them somehow, it's going to be
Mm.
harder for them to get out into the victor mentality. And so I think that people have enough awareness where if a definition is presented where it could get them thinking and they don't want to be in that realm, then uh they don't have to continue to be influenced and inspired by negative experiences that no longer exist outside of anywhere but our emotional being.
Please, Louise, bro.
Told you got some words over there, Frank.
No,
He
he
got some
got.
he got some words over there.
We're not gonna get into no things. But no, that's a huge. That's a huge thing that you just said. Victor mentality. I have to say, I've never heard that before today.
Right.
If you can, I mean, it's obvious. It seems obvious, but what is a victor mentality? Is that somebody who? Well, I'll let you define it because I've never heard that.
You know what's funny? I actually have not come up with like a really solid definition.
Okay.
However, I found that every time I've said the victim mentality definition and then I said victor mentality, everyone's eyes just are just like, oh,
No, yeah.
it, it's just like the opposite. So I haven't come up with a victor mentality definition. However, I would say that a victor mentality is still an adopted characteristic. It's a set of
Mhm.
characteristics and traits and attributions that have been adopted, and they get stronger and reinforced through a habitual thought process and attributions.
Is it safe to say that a victor mentality is more positive than a victim mentality? So I guess the question is, can a victor mentality also be limiting and restricting and or shooting yourself in the foot, so to speak? Or is it
Oh
more
yeah.
of okay,
I, I'd say the victim mentality is actually uh the victim mentality is the person with the person is okay, there's two people. One person is yelling at the other person across from them, shoot me in the foot, shoot me in the foot. And
okay.
the other person's like, no. And then it turns out that they actually didn't have a gun, and the person that was saying shoot me in the foot shot themselves in the foot.
Wow, that's
Uh,
perfect. That's definitely victim.
yeah.
That's definitely victim.
Yeah,
So
because this is the main difference between the two is one projects responsibility while one reflects on responsibility.
and taking
Mhm.
And
ownership.
responsibility is the ability to respond to one situation.
Oh, snap. Hey, you know what? Based on that definition,
Mhm.
I think I have a I ain't tooting my own horn. I think I have a victor
Go for it.
mentality because um
Take out the
m-
think.
right, most of the time
That's right.
I say
Say
90.
say the sentence again without the think.
Wait, what did I say?
I think I
Oh,
have a victor mentality.
okay. I have a victor mentality because
Better.
um about 90% of the time when something happens to me, I don't really blame I've changed a lot. I'm telling you, I'm a totally different person. But I
Mhm.
don't really look for outside. I don't blame outside things. I kind of look at what my role, what my responsibility was in whatever that thing was.
Mhm.
And I've noticed that heavily, especially over the past few years. I'll say about 6 or 7 years, where even anything, finances, relationship, something's going wrong is like, what am I doing? Or how did I manifest this? Or what is my role in this?
Mhm.
And I think that's a healthy way to look at life and problems and navigating this realm in general because when it comes to self-power, right? The only one thing you can control in this entire world is yourself. There are
Mhm.
things outside of us that we have no control over, right? You know what I'm saying? But it's not
Mhm.
necessarily to surrender or submit to those things. It's just if something happens to you, take, look for a lesson in that and learn from it and better yourself, as opposed
Mhm.
to pointing a finger, blaming somebody, or being a hateful person, or at worst, being vengeful and doing crazy
Mhm.
things. Um, so yeah, I have a victor mentality. And until today, I did not
Absolutely.
Never.
have a definition for that. So thank you for that. Now I have it. I wrote it down. I don't know if
Learn
you
something every
trademarked
day.
it yet, but I wrote it down and I'm going to use that. Appreciate it.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah, and I'm big on personal responsibility. I've been saying that a lot lately. Like, you got to take personal responsibility for yourself, and it's kind of infectious too, because like when people around you see you taking responsibility for yourself,
Hmm.
doing better or wanting better or desiring better, and then trying to go after it, or catching yourself when you're doing something you're supposed to be doing. People around you see, he's like, oh, well, why are you doing that? Why are you changing like that? And he's like, I want to be better. I want to do better. I
Hmm.
care about what's going on in myself. So.
Hmm.
Um, but the show is figuring shit out, right? We talked about what you do, kind of how you got into a little bit. So, like, business wise, right? How do you go about finding these people? Do you just go around looking at people who's all sad and gloom and say, "Hey, I can help you"? Like,
Ah, man, that's that's funny. I like that.
you look kind of sad. Just
Well,
let's have a conversation.
well, what I'm doing specifically right now is I'm working specifically with fellas. I
Hmm.
developed a program I call it the Supra Being Blueprint.
Hmm.
Supra being Latin for to rise above, to go beyond. Uh, and yeah, it's for fellas that feel stuck in the suck. They want clarity. They want to be able to figure out where they want to go, and they want to take embodied action. And that's the main thing that I got going on right now. It's in the testing phases, so I'm looking for participants, and it's freaking sweet. It's been really
Can
fun.
is it remote or is it local to
It's
your area?
remote.
Remote? Okay,
Yeah, my
perfect.
whole backpack, like what I'm chatting with you guys on is literally my office. I can go anywhere. I'm
That's
good.
All
dope.
right.
Would
Yeah,
it
so it's all online.
okay, and that's great. Because when you say that, I have people in mind in my family that I can make suggestions, but I'm not sure if they would,
Yeah.
follow through or whatever. Because again, when it comes to this stuff, the person has to want it, right?
Totally.
Um, would you take on, or do you feel like would you turn someone down if you feel like they approach you, or maybe they found you some kind of way, but they don't really want it? Like is there like
Yeah. Right.
yeah, is there like a thing where you're like, you can't really help them if they don't want to help themselves, or like, do you overexert yourself to try to help somebody, or is there like a limiting where it's like, my hands are tied because I can't do the work for you type of deal? You know?
Uh, Definitely the last one. That's a
Mm,
part one. And then there are some people that I've had different experiences where some folks, if it's going into a story that's really close to the heart or close to a story that's heavy for them,
mhm,
they'll shut down. Fair. Some folks they'll amplify, and so their stories are just gibberish.
mhm,
And I've seen that before. Uh, and for myself, I don't force anyone. I don't force anyone to go into stories they don't want to do. I
mhm.
wouldn't even be able to be paid $1 million to force someone to go into a story that they don't want to explore. Hell no. That would be brutal for both of us.
Hmm.
Oh, and you never
I can
explained
see that.
story. So like in your context, what is
Oh
what
yeah,
is the
fair enough.
story?
So a story is an experience. It could be an experience of the past. It could be experience of the present, experience of the future. It could also be, when I think of experience, I think of our day-to-day thoughts, because those are regular narratives that were just like keep on repeat.
Mhm,
And then the stories can be stories that haunt, hurt, taunt, annoy. They could be joyful stories. They could be nostalgic stories.
mhm.
They could be dreams. I've done a couple of dream sessions. Those are pretty trippy. I love those
Nice.
ones. And
Is that when
then
you hypnotize somebody?
no, no, no,
A
no, no.
hypnotist? Okay.
Yeah, no. There is some rewiring going on, but it's mostly them hypnotizing themselves.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Okay.
yeah. Uh, and yeah, so I've had some folks where I've had a solid variety of folks. I haven't had one that has been really. I had one where it was our last session,
Mhm,
so I didn't have to really have a conversation about
mhm,
anything because it was just there was she was chapped about this one thing, And then she was about to do the exact same decision making that got her into the situation that she was chapped about in the beginning.
Right, right.
And
Cycles.
she wrote the story. And I asked him, like, do you see something here? Because I don't want to, I try to not like state things because statements push, questions pull. When people think of it themselves, then uh, they're going to be a lot more okay with what is said. So they're going to be, or I'm going to be harsher on myself than
Hmm.
anyone else.
Hmm.
So an external source doesn't have to do that. And so questions pull, questions bring out opportunity and removes obstacles. And the best way to ask questions is just acknowledge and then ask a question.
Hmm. And then
Right.
and then that's in that context, I guess you were asking her if she saw a pattern or something so she can hopefully self-discover that she's about to start the cycle again
Mhm.
and hopefully make a different choice.
Yeah,
Right.
hopefully.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
So, um, you kind of gave us a story, right? I want to know, like, do you have a like your most memorable experience you've had with somebody where they had a major breakthrough? Like, you ain't got to tell us, their personal
Ooh,
details, but yeah,
okay.
you
Yeah,
mind
yeah,
sharing that?
yeah. Ooh, okay. Yeah, one that came up right. I felt it right in my belly. It just came right
All
to
right,
me.
let's go.
So this fella, uh, I'll set points of context. So there, he's in his 50s-ish. He's around the age of 50, maybe a little north of 50.
Mhm.
The story or the experience that he was writing about happened when he was 9, 10, 11, 12, around there.
Mhm.
It was a father-themed story, so it was an experience with his father. Father themes they can run through, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so I like to give, this is another thing too, is I open up the opportunity. So I like to give the participant the opportunity to put the grill on the table. And I say the thing that's going to be the heaviest hitter if we go into the heaviest, the most haunting, taunting, annoying, hurtful story, the one that brings us the most rage. If we hit that one, everything else is easy. If not, all good. We'll just work our way to
All
it.
right.
Mhm.
And so some folks do that. And so he was like, okay, I got one. So we went into it. And so yeah, experience where it was like he wasn't able to go out for the day or go out for the evening. He had to stay home, do construction work. Dad showed up, wasn't in a very pleasant mood, wasn't very kind to his son,
Mhm.
and he wrote down that story.
Mhm.
And so I'll tell you how the steps go as well because it's fun. So he wrote down that story. That was the first step. Now that's the first thing where taking it out of the head onto paper or a Google Doc or whatever desktop, whatever people use, but
Mhm.
pick a thing.
Right.
Um, so it takes it from here to there. And so it has a beginning and it has an end. And you can create space, which creates more objectivity from the story. So you're no longer in the story, you're observing the story, you're reading it, you're not being it.
Mm.
And so that's the first step. And so some people are like, well, it was a little, like it was a little toasty. And he was actually pretty
Mhm.
cool. He was like chill. He's like, this is heavy. He's like, I'm good. So then second step, and these are all like micro doses of exposure therapy as well in a controlled set and setting, because that's the first point of exposure of a story that's intense. Then you have step two, reading it out loud. And if people do this practice on their own, they can read it out loud to themselves, supercharge it if you're reading it to someone else because you're sharing your heart. It's like
Mhm.
huge change. So step two, read it. And then at steps two, three, and four, I asked the three questions. Describe the feels. Where do you feel in the body? And on a scale of 1 to 10, where does it land? And yeah, the feels were up there, and he was feeling it in his head. He was feeling it in his heart. He was feeling it in his shoulders, a lot in his shoulders, actually.
Mhm.
And then went through step three. Step three is reading it slower, 30% slower your normal rate of speech. Because for step two, people will keep their breath held in the chest so that they can read the story quicker so they don't have to feel the feelings that are associated with it. So
Mm.
step three stops that. because you can only read at 30% your normal rate of speech so long before you
Take
take
a
a
breath.
damn breath.
Hmm.
Mhm.
And so the first read, it kind of just it jolts that story, that energy blockage. Step three starts to pull it apart, and then step four, we read and breathe. And so at every period, insert a breath. So you're reading 30% slower, then you insert the breath. Same exact story, read three different times, asking yourself those three questions. How does it, or where, what do I feel? Where do I feel it? Scale of 1 to 10. And that way you have data, you have information to analyze what is going on
Hmm.
rather than just aimlessly feeling the feels and being like,
Mhm.
because when you're thinking, it's like, if you're thinking of a story, it's like, where do you feel it? Well, I'm feeling joy. Okay. Oh no, actually, I'll go with this one. I'm feeling joy. Okay. Uh, and then person two, I'm feeling sadness. Oh,
Hmm.
okay, okay, okay. Where do you feel it in your body? I feel it like I'm gonna tear up, I'm gonna cry. Both of them actually say that because sadness and happiness both have the same physiological responses. So that was
Hmm.
just a little
Okay.
twist.
Hmm.
Uh, and so and so these are just where does the intensity? Okay, the intensity is on an 8 out of 10. So it's just information, and as you read through it, it fleshes the things out. And so by the end of it, he was like he was he was a freaking trooper. Like he had some points where he paused, where he was feeling a little extra intensity. And I
Right.
was like, all good, take your time, dude. We're not in a rush. We're not in a
Yeah.
rush. I think we had a session for like we went a little bit longer. Like we were having an awesome time. So we
That's
we had a long session.
that's
And so
huge.
Nice.
and then by the end of it, he said that before it was really chaotic. It felt like he was being beat down.
Hmm.
And now it felt he still was aware of those lingering feelings. They weren't as intense, and he felt like he was in the middle of a tornado. I thought that
Hmm.
was pretty shit. That
Wow.
was pretty cool.
Yeah.
No, that's huge. So, do you find that because that sounds crazy, and I feel like I'm interested. Like there's plenty of things I could write and go through that process with.
Mhm.
Do you think, or do you in your experience, is that relief that I guess some people feel, not maybe not everybody, is that immediate relief? Is it more of is it is it something that can be a long lasting relief, or is it like temporary in that moment because they went through this process, but it could come back later and they may have to do it again, or you
No,
know what I'm saying, or is it something that
it
can
would,
cure, any type of trauma?
I would say, yeah, dare I say, I think it's closest to being possible, having the ability to resolve a lot of trauma. Not
Mhm.
all,
Okay,
but a lot.
that's
Because
huge.
I think that if all it is our stories, it's just our words. And it could be, and this is another thing is when we're not thinking about our thinking, then someone else is doing the thinking for us. So
Mm.
we adopt other people's stories and we believe their stories. So for example, this is a funny thing because I'm a pretty chipper guy. And
Right.
and what was it? But in my early 20s, I would consider myself a closeted joyful person because I actually wanted to fit in because being miserable was so cool. And
You
so,
was emo kids, the
yeah,
goth kids.
man,
That's fine.
dude, I was there too. I went to so many shows, bro. Oh man, hell
Okay,
yeah. I was like, yeah, totally. And so, uh, where was I going with that one?
my fault. You was
Okay.
you was on your 20s, your early 20s. It was cool to
Oh
be
yeah,
miserable. Cool to be
yeah.
miserable. Yeah.
And so I was just adopting stories of this is the way that I should be, even if I had a different opinion or a belief around any whatever it could be. Because my beliefs that I have now are much more structured than I have ever
Mm.
had. And that's because I created that mold. Because I think that another thing is that change is not something that happens on a regular basis. People don't feel encouraged to change by their peers if they don't have a supportive crew
Hmm.
or a supportive fellowship. Lord of the Rings, And so then there's like there is factors that line into it. And it always starts from the inside out. It's not the outside in. Because if we can't really develop that, if we continue being dependent dwellers rather than autonomous action takers, we're always going to be asking for things. We're not going to be exploring the unknown frontier of whatever we want to explore and do whatever the F we want if the words in between our ears are not lining up because the body's going to take it's just going to because it goes words, stories, breath, then behavior.
Mm.
And so then it just all the other good stuff, it overall molds. But I will say that relief, it's the first chunk of time is just a collection of reliefs or
Mm.
aha moments. And those two things, once you really bust through that part where it's like, whoa. And then the next struggle is which are the deep stories am I ready to let go of? Because you get rid of
Right.
the surface level stuff and then you get rid of other people's stuff. Then it's you're
Uh,
going into your own stuff.
Right.
And it's like,
Yes.
oh, it's interesting. Yeah.
That's crazy. I'll tell you what, I could definitely probably use a few sessions right now. Um,
Dude, I'm looking for peeps. I'll reach
yeah,
out to you.
that'd be super dope.
Kyle, you up here making men get into their fields, man. What's going on with that? You know,
Nah.
men not supposed to be in their fields. I know,
Actually,
right?
I
I'm
will
with it.
counter this one. I'll counter this one. The reason as to why I decided to work with only fellas now is because the problem that I see is that there's not a lot of support for fellas in a constructive, practical way that
Mm,
makes sense with just
Mm.
it just doesn't it's just not helping.
Hmm.
There's
mm,
more evidence indicating that there's harm than good. And so I actually frame it because I think that a lot of the wellness practices are more love orientated rather
Hmm.
than respect orientated.
That's
And
huge.
so when I'm working between that's the only difference between when I'm working with a lady in contrast to a fella is the lady is going to be focused more on the emotional love aspect. And
mhm,
I'm working with a fella, it's going to be uh closer to like the narratives of what do I bring to the world? Am I useful? Can I survive?
Right.
These are the things where I think like that's where respect is. So it's from affirmation, admiration, it's from being of service and that's how we develop respect. And a side effect of
Right.
respect is love. We
Right.
don't love people you don't respect
That's
for the
true.
most
right.
part. I don't know. There could be exceptions. Likely is. If I just thought it up, there probably is.
You dropped so many bars, so many
Yeah.
quotes. We should just Kyle Smith said this.
Dude, I'll
Yes.
actually say I'm like so I'm alive today. Yeah,
Yeah.
That
big
is
time.
huge.
So freaking I heard somebody say, so I'm a big emotional intelligent person. Like say you
Hmm.
shouldn't act on emotions, but I always say like if you're in tune with your emotions, you should probably act on your emotions. Like if you are understanding why
Oh
you're
yeah, yeah.
feeling a particular way, you should
Hmm.
probably act on that. Because if you don't, you're probably gonna miss it a moment to be, right? The
Hmm.
moment to be present, or you're gonna miss, whatever opportunity is present for you to feel. And then I also heard recently like that men are just only way to get fit and get money, right? Get fit
Gym,
and get
money, and I ain't gonna
and
say
the
the other
rest
word.
and the rest of the world would be your oyster, right? Everything will be okay.
Mhm.
And all the time, that's not necessarily true, right? We see plenty of guys who have all the money in the world but are missing a lot, right? A lot of guys are
Totally.
super fit and are missing a lot, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, I'm definitely down with what you're selling, right? What you're picking up, what you're putting down, because I'm big on emotions and stuff like that.
Nice. I actually like to think of it as that improve a little bit of each of those areas and elevate overall so that you don't have an off-kilter development.
Mm. Right.
Because I think of it as like call it the four F's of fate. It's starts with fitness, physical and mental fitness, finances, which are both, in my view, objectively important. Then
Mhm.
it goes fellowship, the people you make space for, and then fulfillment,
Mhm.
and that's
Right.
self-actualization. Just like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I just put it
Right.
with F's for the alliterations.
I
Oh
like that.
wow.
I like that.
And so I like having that leveled approach where I think that absolutely go for the bank if you want to go for the bank, go for the fitness, go for the adventures, go hang out
Mhm.
with cool people. That
That's
sounds
it
awesome.
sounds yes, it's so simple. Like
It is.
Is it?
it is simple, but at the same time, in our society, a lot of times,
Hmm.
a lot of those things are not shunned, but it's like they're not fitness, for example. There's a lot of people that is not fit. Not talk bad about weight or health or whatever,
I'm
but
talking bad about
I know you don't care. You're a different story. But a lot of how you feel, like for instance, a lot of depressed, you could be depressed because of what your body's going through, right? And
them.
it could be as simple as going for a walk outside and getting some sun,
Hmm.
and people stay in the house or in an office, no windows, working on a computer or just slouching all the time, eating horrible foods. And that's a foundation. You're setting a foundation for your mental state. So, and we're not taught this in schools, you know what I'm saying? Schools, and don't get me started on schools, but there's a lot of information in society that I felt like is kept hidden from us. But the way you said it, it was so simple. Fitness, finance, fulfillment, and what was the
And
other one?
fellowship.
Fellowship,
Fellowship.
Fellowship.
Lord of the Rings.
Right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I said, it's simple, but like to the world, to the public, it's an elusive perspective. And I just plugged my book. It's
Hey.
elusive. It's just like
Ooh.
you like that, right? I know that
Yeah, yeah,
grab the book,
yeah.
elusive perspective. But it's like it's simple, but it's so aloof to a lot of people,
Mhm.
He's been
So
dying to use that one.
I know it actually that just came out of nowhere.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
that was
start
good.
using that more. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Uh, I'll piggyback off of that one because I agree. This is what I think of school is that school trains us what to think, not how to think. And that goes
Mhm.
into how we adopt stories.
Hmm.
And so if we're not thinking about our thinking, then we're going to say that that person, uh, let's see, what's a cool example? It would be something that's messed up is when people will support you at the bottom, and when you actually accomplish your goal, they reject you. That's what people are fearful of because they
Mhm.
have more community being in a shitty spot. So they'll let themselves not do that if they are not willing to push out of that comfort zone part, to push past that and to go into that adventure. Because I think that that's the thing too, is having that adventure, having that desire to do
Hmm.
something, because it's a hero's journey. And
Right.
I think that if a lot of people are saying the exact same thing, it's best to not listen to them.
That's a bar too. You got another one,
Kyle is
Kyle.
full of gems, boy. Boy, I
Another
told you he's a
bar.
wordsmith over there.
Another bar.
You,
103. Episode 103 is a
Yeah.
beast out here.
yeah. You want to finish the final question, Frank? Hey, what we
Yeah.
doing?
So like our final question we ask every guest is what is something you're trying to figure out now? It could be in business, it could be in life, it could be in personal. Maybe it's something you're struggling with that you could put out to the universe and just tell us what is something you're trying to figure out. And hopefully that you can get the
Ooh.
answer, you get a download or somebody out there and that watches can, send some information to you.
Yeah, fair enough. Honestly, the main project, the only focus that I got going on right now is recording podcasts and doing my program. And that's it, and helping people and just running it through, adjusting things, organizing things. And then the goal is to take it from, because right now I'm doing a 6 week, just a tester one.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's going to be a 16-week one for the actual launch. And then I'm going to turn it into a 52-week over time. So
Nice.
Wow.
I got some I'm aiming to build a stadium. The freaking I'm building the foundation of a damn stadium. I'm not
Hey.
building the
Nice.
foundation of a house and then
Hmm.
building a stadium over top of it. I'm freaking starting with the stadium.
Let's go,
That's
go big or
huge.
go home.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's huge.
Kyle, I am so just be. We appreciate you for coming on, man. Let everybody know how they can reach you, your socials, and your websites and stuff like that.
Sweet. Website is clarityconsultant.ca.
Hmm.
And for social media, if you want to have a conversation, Instagram is the quickest response time. And all my social handles are Dapper Dude Kyle, DapperDudeKyle.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, Kyle. Great conversation. Like I said, he's a wordsmith. He got plenty of bars, lots of concept, lots of fun things to think about. Tap into the emotion too, fellas. Don't be scared.
Yeah, emotions are crazy. Thank you, Kyle, so much. This
Yeah,
is a
man.
wrap of episode 103, season 5 of Figuring Shit Out. We figured some shit
Yeah,
out. Hopefully, you figured some shit out. Let us know in the
absolutely.
comments what you figured out. Share, like, subscribe, all the things. We appreciate you
Yes,
guys.
sir.
We out. Thank you, Kyle. Appreciate you. Have a good one.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Thank
Peace.
you.